Hello everybody. Today we're going to talk about some of the labs that we have coming up and the way that I anticipate those labs working. So first off, we're going to talk about LabOne. First off, I've posted a copy of Explore California, which is just a basic website that's a PHP website that's got about half a dozen pages to it, and links through it and stuff, but nothing particular, but it suit our needs. Now, the next thing to know about LabOne, app deployment in a monolithic architecture, is you'll see that there's 5 documents out there that all relate to this one lab. Now, the first document is an overview document, and this one, I'll do these lab overviews, but of course this one is much longer. And come on up, there it is. And in this, I go through and I talk about the how labs work, how we're going to work through this, how the teams work within your group. You're going to have 6-person groups, and then you're going to break into 2 teams, one an ops team and the other sec team. Now, the ops team and the sec team have different responsibilities, and the ops team's main job is to build what needs to be built, based on 2 things: based on the overall goal for the lab, and based on the security requirements that come to them from the security team. So your ops team is going to build stuff, and then it's going to test it to make sure that, according to them, it satisfies the requirements for the lab and for the security requirements. So, in this lab, your job is to build a website as a monolith, and so you're going to have to, explore how to build websites using Ansible. You're going to, work with that minimal install, run an Ansible script against it, and change that minimal install of CentOS into a web server. And that web server is going to have some files on it, so you're going to have that come in. You're going to have to think about firewalls. You're going to have to think about all kinds of stuff. But the main thing is that you're building a monolithic single server website that has some files associated with it. Now, the security team has 2 goals in these labs. One is to develop the security policies that this website should live up to. Well, where are those policies going to come from? Well, a couple of things. I give you some good ones in the another document, but I also point you at this guy right here, this website. This is pretty good. It just says, this is a good way to secure an Apache web server. There's 7 or 10 or whatever things you should probably do. I like that. That's fine. That's good. And so that's your first job, is come up with the policies that the architecture should support. The second job is to test the work of the ops team to make sure that the architecture that they deploy actually lives up to those security policies that you've told them. So it's not as though we don't trust our ops team. It's just that we want to verify what they've done. And so that's what we talk about in this guy here. So, now we've got other documents to look at. And let's see, where are we? Okay. Let's see. So every lab starts out with a project plan, okay? In this project plan, you have to figure out as a group, not ops, not dev, not ops, not sec, as a group, you need to figure out what it is we need to do, and what kind of an architecture do we need to build, what are the capabilities we need to have it live up to, what about this, what about that. So that's what your project plan is all about. Now, another thing that your project plan is, and basic questions you need to answer are things like, what are the deliverables, what are the dependencies, and how do we come up with a process by which everybody's work can be coordinated as a group to finish this lab. Okay, I give you this really basic Gantt chart. You can work through it and and modify it and all that kind of stuff. It's just an Excel thing. But if you want to use Microsoft Project, I love it. But if you just want to do the Excel thing, that's fine. Now the other thing you need to do is come up with a Visio diagram, a network diagram of what you're proposing to build. Why? Because when you work as part of a team, it's a lot harder to communicate stuff that if you're working by yourself, you would need to have to worry about. So as a team, you need to know what the different host names are. What are the IP addresses that we're using? Where's Ansible deployed? How are we going to build this thing? So that's what your network diagram is all about. Okay, so there's the project plan, and that gets done first. Okay, because then you're going to go off and do the work. The next document that comes up on this is an operational report of functionality. So, the ops team's job is to build the architecture. They're to come up with the scripts that build this thing. Using Ansible, using, whatever needs to be used, make it happen. Okay? Put your group number, we'll get numbers too, and your members and all that kind of stuff. And then answer a few questions in here. And of course include copies of your scripts and your playbooks and all that kind of stuff too. But this is documenting what you did, okay? And that's pretty much what the ops team does. Now the other team out there is the sec team. And the sec team, in this one, I give you lots of blah, 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 okay, about, why sec teams are separate from ops teams and all that kind of stuff. Probably should have included this into the introduction, but here we go. And so anyhow, so what are the policies that you need to build to create, to give the ops team, to let them know what they need to build? Well, if you want to, you can use some of mine, okay? I give you some policies right here. I'll start down at the bottom because it's pretty straightforward. The firewall D status must satisfy operational requirements of the operating system. Firewall D's got to be in proper configuration. The host file may not include any other entities than those required to satisfy operational requirements. There you go. That's pretty straightforward. Only open ports needed to satisfy operational requirements may be installed on an operating system. No extra open ports. So, basic stuff. That's what we're talking about here with our security policies. Really basic stuff. Those are recommended. These are required security policies. Why? Because you got to do this stuff. And so, you're going to have to check to see that these actually exist and work and all that kind of stuff. And there you go. Now, let's see. Now, you could come up with, okay, so we got some deliverables there. You could, like I said, use those security policies from that article and, copy and paste those in here where it says security policies, insert your list here. You start typing them in. You want to copy and paste these guys in? Fine, I don't care. That's okay. You want to include these? That's great. But remember, you got two jobs on the SEC team. One, to come up with these policies. And they can be whatever you think they should be. And two, you need to test the operations folks what they come out with after they run their scripts and everything, to see if in fact it does what you expect it to. You're probably going to do that in Bash or Python, or in Ansible maybe for some things. But so you come up with some scripts that actually audit this and display this. And so your security report is going to be answer these questions and then show me how this all fits together. Okay, so there's the SEC report. Then we have one last report that you need to do. And that's this group reflection report. And so you worked in two teams, an ops team and a sec team. Now, the lab is done. Now I want you to get together and reflect on what worked well, what didn't work. How did you split up the work? Did that work well? Or, did it feel like one group had all the work and the other group just did nothing? So I want you to think about this. Now, this comes from the fact that whenever there's an outage in any sort of a modern organization, they do a post-mortem after the outage to figure out what went wrong. That's what I want you to do with this. So figure out what worked, what didn't work. No judgment, no blame. Just, how can we do this better next time? Okay? All right, that's all I've got for you on this one, and I hope this helps. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.